Welcome to the Voice of Retail for the week of April 7th, 2019. I'm your host, Michael LeBlanc, and this podcast is brought to you in conjunction with Retail Council of Canada and sponsored by Stream Commerce, North America's fastest growing Shopify Plus agency. Learn more at streamcommerce.com. In this episode, an exclusive interview with Danielle Brown, freshly minted CMO for award-winning Canadian DTC retailer Knix. Next, we meet up with Jesse Michaels from Stocard, talk about their innovative solution for managing loyalty programs from the palm of consumers' hands that delivers measurable benefits for retailers in Canada. Then Kalie Belanger from Retail Council of Canada and I sit down for a chat together, and she brings us up to speed on Canadian Independent Bookstore Day, happening right around the corner, April 27th. Last but not least, I'll cover off the top retail news of the week, including Macy's rollout of their version of Story, Walmart's latest environmental initiative, plus their mic drop, as the kids would say, on Amazon. MEC opens up a new flagship store in Toronto, another retail cannabis store graces the Toronto market, and the rise of electronic shelf labels. But first, let's listen now to my interview with Danielle from Knix. Danielle, welcome to the Voice of Retail. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's exciting time for Knix, and I think the timing couldn't be better. You're a new addition to Knix, so I wanted to hear, you arrive with both fresh eyes and a great background. But let's talk about you for a little bit first. Tell us about yourself,
Sure.
Your background, and then how you came to be at Knix and what your role is.
Well, it is an exciting time. I am sitting in this office with my founder, just having gone on mat leave, our founder, CEO, Joanna. So it's 5 months into the role. It's definitely going to be trial by fire. And I'm excited for the challenge. I mean, Joanna and I actually have known each other for a very long time. We worked together in the music industry a lifetime ago. She was a publicist at Universal Music, and I was a label manager for Interscope Records. We met there and then just reconnected over the last few years. And we've been talking about her journey. I was a fan of Knix and actually a customer. And then just the more we talked, the more we started thinking that we should probably work together, and really started talking about it 2 years ago. Really in serious. I had accepted another opportunity at the time, so the timing didn't work, but it's just made for this really interesting onboarding process where I saw the company through her eyes as a friend and a bit of an advisor. And then so when I started in November, I really knew what I was getting into, which was a wonderful way to start a job like this. I understood the role. I was really clear on what we needed me to accomplish. So it's been a really accelerated onboarding process, I'd say. It certainly doesn't feel like I'm 5 months in.
And you've been, in your past lives, you mentioned the record industry, and then you've been into what we call, I guess, B2B marketing. I think your last stop was at Hubba, mm-hmm. and now you're into the consumer brands. And if this stuff writes itself, you two are going to make great music together once again, right?
Wonderful. I love that. Yeah.
Wonderful. There you go. Let's talk a little bit about Knix as a brand. And so let's, first of all, tell us about Knix itself, so the listeners who may or may not be as familiar, and then just unpack the brand for us a little bit and how you frame its position in both in the market to your customers and then the unique way you go to market.
Yeah, sure. I mean, Knix is a women's intimates company. So we make the world's best, most comfortable wire-free bras, underwear, and leak-proof underwear. So that would be period-proof underwear, underwear for incontinence. And we really focus, our whole mission is on inspiring women to live unapologetically free. We live and breathe that. We are a mission-led company, and I think you can see that in everything that we do. We really are purposeful in the way that we talk to our customers, in the way that we create our products. We live inclusivity, and we want to create experiences where everyone feels welcome. Community is so important to us. We want to hold this safe and vulnerable space where women can grow and connect. We're also a mirror into the world. So we want to spark these timely conversations that inspire women to be free. And we really want to create imaginative products. So comfortable, versatile, technical intimates that are going to, where our name comes from, nix the bad and make the good even better.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that was the origin of the name.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So,
go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Michael. Sorry.
Oh, well, I was going to say, it's certainly a brave foray into what is, in one way, a pretty crowded category, but yet in another way, you've managed to carve out a specific niche, and you really seem to have, either been thinking ahead of the trend or grabbed the zeitgeist of what the trend is around inner fashion. In terms of your approach, I think it's really well timed and seems to be well ahead of its time in some way. Just now, the industry's catching up with you in some ways. Yeah,
it's interesting. I know with the whole Victoria's Secret thing and the backlash on what they represent, it's been interesting to us to watch, because we have used customers in our photo shoots since our inception, since 2013. We've been size inclusive since the beginning. We've carried a size 0 to 22. We've never changed our pricing depending on size. So it's been interesting to see the industry catch up, and to see the industry really start to turn and embrace women, and embrace women for who we are and for what we need in order to be able to live free.
It's a really big part of the brand that the inclusivity and the brand position is really wonderful, and it's very well articulated, I find, in the visuals and in the messaging. Let's talk a little bit about from a trade perspective. You at one point Knix was available through other retailers, but now I think you're almost exclusively direct and consumer. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, that's right. So at one point we were in 800 retail doors across North America. We actually started as a wholesale business. And a little over 2 years ago, we made that transition to be 100% online. So it's been about 27, 28 months, I think. And in that time, we have grown 2,000% since we made that change to be entirely direct to consumer. And we did it for a few reasons. I think the growth and the success has been wonderful and gratifying. But through wholesale, we were always challenged because we were always dealing with a middle person, right? There were antiquated systems. We were sending faxes back and forth to send orders through in many cases, right? That's the way things still work in a lot of cases. We didn't really have anyone who wanted to carry our full size range, and that was important to us. And so the change has really been that we're now closer to our customers. When we develop our products, we can talk directly to our customers about what they want to see. And we can react and give people different things that they want to see. So we now do monthly color drops instead of doing 2 drops a year because the supply chain was difficult to manage. We really feel like we can give our customers what they want, and we can be in this really integrated community with our customers and serve them better.
So let me just hang on that for a sec. So you're now a 12-drop business versus a seasonal business. Is that a fair characterization?
Absolutely.
Interesting. And you're based here in Toronto, but you're a Canadian business outwards, right? So you're both in Canada, but I think do you have international business, U.S. business and international business?
Yeah, we do have some international. We're going to look to expand internationally, do another major market launch, hopefully by the end of this year. We'll test it anyway. But most of our sales actually do come out of the U.S. It's a huge market. Part of our growth is going to be growing that market. So we're obviously way more penetrated in Canada, but most of our sales do come from the U.S.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the tradecraft behind how you take what is now a DTC, a direct-to-consumer brand. You don't have the partnerships to launch you in places like the U.S. or across Canada. So how do you approach marketing, customer acquisition, and retention? What's the tradecraft behind that for a brand such as yours?
Sure. I think in the way that we've grown, we've really focused on acquisition. this year is the first year that we're going to also start focusing on retention. And as part of that retention, also look at how we use our advocates and our ambassadors to then take our message and then start farming it out again. So creating this viral loop really that starts with our customers. That's one thing. Another thing that we're looking at doing, even though we are entirely direct to consumer right now, is starting to really cautiously look at pop-ups in the US market. So I think part of the reason that we have such high brand recognition in Toronto and across Canada, Toronto especially, is that we're here. And we now have a showroom. People can come in, try on our products in our space. And we're going to try to replicate that in a few key markets in the US. It's going to be easier to connect with people and to have people feel us, even though we're not of their community. We want to be able to understand what different markets feel like and understand what's important to people in those markets. And like a lot of other DTC brands, we are going to try to do that with a little bit of a footprint that's physical.
Well, it's interesting, and I can't say I timed it this way, but my last episode was with Indochino, which of course is a direct-to-consumer, but is now 40 plus, maybe 50 showrooms across North America and international sales. So, you're really touching on, digital first or direct-to-consumer organizations that I found when talking to many of them that it helps in the cost of customer acquisition as well as just establishing a foothold or a toehold in new markets, because you have it's hard to beat a physical presence, notwithstanding all the wonderful things you can do online. Is that your thinking as well?
Absolutely. There's a different way that people can experience a product, a brand, when they get to touch and feel and interact. And what we know from the trend in people doing physical really well is they're treating physical as an experience and as a way to physically experience a brand that may be mostly digital. I think one of the things that we're going to be doing in each of those markets too is, as we do involve our consumers in all of our shoots, in all of our product shoots, we're going to be doing the same thing in those markets. So looking at using that as a foundational part of our influencer strategy in those markets as well. So it's more of a holistic approach. As you know, we could go and do some at home in a market. There's no connection, right? So how do we look at marketing from an omni-channel perspective? I think not the only way to do that, but a great way to do that is to relate to people and talk to them where they are.
Well, you're joining us at Retail Council of Canada at the Retail Marketing Conference on April 18th. And you, the brand, is the award recipient of the 2019 Retail Marketing Innovation Achievement Award. So congratulations to the whole team at Knix for that.
We're really honored. Thank you so much. We were really thrilled to receive that award, and it really, really means a lot to be recognized for some of our work. So we really appreciate it.
So the fun thing about winning achievement awards is the next question around, as you sit around the table. Okay, geez, how do we top that? So let's talk about that for a little bit. You're freshly minted, 5 months into the gig, so really it's now yours to look forward. You've touched on some of the things that you're working on, but give us a sense of the marketing roadmap in your mind for the next 12 to 18 months and how you think. You've already talked about activating existing customers, so moving to that point where you've got a base to activate. What other things are in your marketing roadmap for the next 12 to 18 months? Yeah,
I am really excited about all the fun things we have to work with. We have a lot of new things to work with, actually. We will be launching Swim in the near future, which is so exciting for us. And the way that we are going to do that is mostly through an influencer-based strategy, which is going to be new for us. We do use influencers, but we are going to experiment with really primarily using influencers to sell that for us. And it's something that we know, again, because we've talked to our customers and we do so often, that they are looking for from us, swim. We're also going to be diving into maternity. And we will be creating a nursing bra. Our customers, again, they use some of our products as nursing friendly products. They are great as they are, but we've listened to the improvements that people have wanted to make. And we are going to be launching a nursing bra towards the back half of the year. So there's all these exciting new products that we're developing, and we're really, really excited to be able to bring them to people.
I mean, what I like about, as I listen to your product road, not just the marketing pieces, is staying true to the core element, right? That wire-free is a natural transition or a natural addition or line addition to maternity, right? They're very, very likable connection. At the retail marketing conference, I'm going to be hosting a panel on retail influencers. And since you brought them up, the panel, I'm going to actually have a couple of influencers on the panel because I wanted to talk to the people and talk about their trade craft. And I wanted them to give some advice to the folks in the room there about how to work with influencers. So I'm going to ask you the same question from the retail brand perspective. What is it that you look for, and how do you optimize a relationship with an influencer? It's a bit, sometimes feels like, how do you find the right ones and the ones with credibility? Tell us, just for a minute or two, tell us about how you approach finding the right people and then working with them.
What's interesting for us is because we are very, very clear about our brand position and our mission is very clear. A lot of times we have influencers find us. And it's people who are body positive, who like what we're doing and they see a great fit. One of our main influencers, she's called The Bird's Papaya on Instagram, and she's grown with us. She has grown to now, I think she's over 200,000 followers now. Wow. And she's a wonderful collaborator. And I would say that the map that we made with Sarah is how we like to approach all of our influencer relationships. This is a partnership. For us, it's really important that we're authentic about who we pick, that it's not an advertising type of relationship. I do know that some brands approach it that way. But for us, it's not about one post and forget it. It really is, do the women who we're choosing to work with represent who we are? And would our customer base see them as an authentic partner for us?
Well, very insightful. I love that word collaboration. So, I'll have to incorporate that into my question. So thank you for thank you for giving me that. Well, listen, it's been wonderful chatting with you. Congratulations again to Joanna, yourself, and the brand for the award again. And we're looking forward to meeting everyone in person at the retail marketing event. Now, how can we if someone wants to get in touch with your brand and maybe explore the products itself, how can they find Knix?
Oh, I love that question. Thanks, Michael. Knix.ca or Knix.com, depending on where you are. And if you want to see us on Instagram, we're at Knixwear.
Oh, perfect. Well, listen, thanks again for taking the time to chat with the Voice of Retail, and look forward to connecting with you real soon.
Truly enjoyed it. Thanks, Michael.
We'll be right back.
Sunny Brar here, Vice President of Member Relations and Education for the Retail Council of Canada, to tell you about our HR Forum, which is coming up on April 17th, 2019 at the Toronto Congress Centre. Now, do you want to learn about diversity, about inclusion, and the importance of keeping your employees engaged? Well, this forum is for you. So please make sure you join us and contact me for more details. Thank you.
Jesse, welcome to the Voice of Retail.
Thanks for having me.
So tell me a bit about yourself before we get into talking about your product. Tell me a bit, you're not new to the retail industry by any stretch of the imagination, but I think you're new to Stocard, right?
Yeah, it's been about 7 months. Fairly new,
Yep.
But in terms of retail landscape, prior to my experience there, I was with the digital flyer company Flip. Mm-hmm. I was there for 4 years and helped grow that business from 50, 60 people to over 500 people.
Great Canadian success story.
A fantastic story, based in Toronto, as we all know. And prior to that, I was in CPG, so working with Conagra Brands. Prior to that, did some email marketing, but it was some of our clients were Sobeys and AT&T, so still fairly close to the retail space. So extensive work in retail and definitely seen the shift in the last 5-6 years from traditional to digital.
So tell me about Stocard. Now, they're not a Canadian company. They're not a new company. Tell me a bit about them.
Sure. They're based in Germany. So it was 3 founders. They all went to school together. Typical story that you kind of hear, 3 guys in their basement. But, they met in school, started this company, and from there created, saw this issue that was happening with wallets and everything else from plastic to digital, and came up with the concept actually back in 2012. That's when they launched the company. We actually launched the app in Canada in 2014.
Really?
So it's been around 5 years. But again, we just recently launched the Canadian office, and actually North American operations are out of Toronto with myself and the team. So we've been here about 7 months, but again, not a new concept. But based in Germany and recently launched here.
Well, let's talk about the concept. Explain it first. Let's talk about it first from a consumer's perspective.
Sure.
Consumers, we know Canadian consumers are loyalty program crazy. There's more loyalty programs out than there are Canadian citizens, if you added up the number of cards/program participants. So we know you're in the right place, but what do you bring to consumers, first of all? Then we'll talk about the retail industry, but what do you bring to consumers that's different that they should pay attention to? Yeah,
for sure. That's a great question. I think to touch on your first point, it was actually amazing when I first downloaded the app a few years ago to actually go in and see how many cards are available. I don't think people actually realize how many loyalty programs are available. They know there's a lot, but when you go in and see smaller retailers that have this as well, and then you can add your own cards as well from specific stores that you shop at. But no, it's an interesting point. And then, like you mentioned, from a consumer standpoint, it really is about utility. It really is about decluttering the wallet, getting rid of those plastic cards, uploading all of them to a handy wallet that you carry with you. You can see local stores, everything that's close to you. So it is geofenced and proximate. There's proximity, to each user.
All opt in, right? Because I signed it up and then asked you, is it cool? All opt in.
Yeah,
right.
And then you can see relevant offers that are related to your cards, based on the cards that you're holding in your wallet, which is not unlike anywhere you can go see flyers or things like that. But we can get into the benefits for retailers after this. But from a consumer standpoint, it really is about utility and seeing the trend switch from physical to digital, or traditional to digital.
I liked when you're right about. I was surprised when I opened up the app, and I'm an iOS user, so I assume it's multi-platform, whether downloaded it on iOS or whatever platforms.
Yep.
But I scrolled down, and it just kept going in terms of the preloaded programs that you could click on. And then I liked the fact that you could click on it and then brought the camera up, and you take a quick picture of the physical card or type in your number, because I kind of do both. Yeah. Tell me, again, I'm an iOS user, so I put a lot of my loyalty cards into the iWallet or the wallet on the phone. Right. What's the difference? I guess mechanically they're both on the phone, but what's the difference? Why would I have them either or in both?
A lot of cases you need an actual part from a B2B standpoint. You actually need a partnership with Apple directly to have the card listed. So we actually don't restrict any retailer or any card with a barcode to be uploaded into Stocard. So that's one major difference. We actually do have a partnership with Apple too that's sort of hush-hush, but in Europe that actually prevents us from doing certain things like having boarding passes or other utilities that are found, or tickets, things like that we actually have in the Android version because we don't have any participation with Google Pay. So that's really interesting from that standpoint, as well as the offer side. That's really where the differential comes in. To Apple Wallet is having relevant offers, geolocated to you and relevant based on your wallet and what cards are in that wallet.
Okay, so let's pivot now into our audience, which is retailers. So retailers either are participating in coalition programs, Aeroplan or an Air Miles, or they have their own programs. So What do you do for retailers, and what do you want to talk to retailers about your programs?
Yeah, there's two, if we break it down really simply, there's two things the retailers can take advantage of. And it's actually quite unique to Canada. And one of the reasons that I jumped at the opportunity, the main reason, was the fact that we can actually close loop on transactions, which is really interesting. And the basic mechanics of it is, in traditional or even digital formats, we don't have to name names, but any kind of company out there that does digital advertising can really get you to the entry to the store from a tracking and measurement standpoint. Sure. What we're able to do is from once a user, yourself, myself, whoever, actually sees or engages with the content, they go into store, so we track them to store, much like others, but we can actually see when people have actually made a purchase because they're scanning their card at POS right within the app. So we're actually able to close the loop on purchases. We're launching in Europe actually, I believe it's in 2 weeks, from a personalization standpoint. We're launching one-to-one personalization. So with that capability, we're actually then able to tell retailers and speak to them and say, consumers have actually seen this ad, it's personalized to them. They actually go in store, they purchase, and this is what they've purchased. So right now we can tell at an aggregate that they've actually made a purchase of some kind, and then we'll have that capability to actually say what they've purchased. Not unlike extension of their own programs. You think of PC Optimum and Loblaws with the article that came out, they're launching different programs to prove what people are buying in store.
It's the holy grail, right? How do it
literally is
accountability, or how do I make my advertising accountable? How do I allocate? It's the allocation riddle,
right?
What drove what, and did this drive actual basket transaction, right?
Right, and there's still at this very moment until we launch one-to-one. There's still an assumption on basket size, but there is, without a shadow of a doubt, 100% confirmation on purchase is being made, which no one else can do in Canada. In the U.S., they need third parties to do it, so there's third-party verification, and you get around data and privacy and all that sort of stuff. So that's the other thing. We aren't doing any sort of, we don't need any sort of data or privacy protection because we're not into POS right now. So.
Right. So this, what's interesting is, when you load your cards in, then it basically is agnostic. When I'm thinking about even just the coalition programs, because it could be scanned by anyone with a UPC scanner, right? And I guess that's the case for all the loyalty programs in there. So, what is it that you would, if I'm a retailer? What do I want to do? I want to make offers through your product, because you're going to take care of the installed base. You're going to have a bunch of people, number of Canadians, who have decided to go into your app, and they've got someone's loyalty program, many of them out there. Right. You would talk to them and say, listen, here's how we can do business together. What would, give me some examples of that.
Yeah, perfect. So, for instance, I'm talking to retailer X. We go in and say, listen, Stocard in Canada, 2.5 million users total. 1.7 million monthly actives, which is someone coming back at least once a month, which is a strong user base, especially for a shopping app. It's used 8 times a month, so really strong metrics from twice a week coming back to a shopping app is pretty strong. But basically, the partnership's pretty simple to get started. They would either provide us a flyer or a product carousel of offers that we could actually pull. They just provide links to us. And my team actually takes care of all the creative overhead, which is fantastic. And unlike a lot of other digital platforms out there where it's creative overhead, we actually take the links and build the product carousel for them, and that's it. We sign an IO and away we go. And that's number one. Number two, and I was going to mention this previously, is we actually support with signups and acquisition. So if there was kind of 2 ways to boil it down, it would be, activation of current, users in the app to push them in store and track purchases, and 2 would be acquisition. So we actually have a widget built into the homepage of the app within your wallet, and we can target that widget at individuals that use the app to acquire them and have them sign up directly within the app. So there's no bounce out to their website or anything like that. They actually fill in the predetermined entry form or can validate with the retailers direct whatever they need to fill that in. I
love that idea. I'm seeing a lot of that. I was at a session at Shop Talk in Las Vegas, and I always go see the VCs, the venture capitalists, what are they funding? And these super apps that you're starting to see now in China, where instead of discrete, different apps that you go to that then bounce you out to a different place. It's all clustered together, and all the activity is kind of native, as we would say. Like, it happens right in the app. So I think you're really onto something there. I love that idea.
Yeah, it's interesting because, back to data and privacy, we want to make sure that we're protecting data. That's, there's no PII or any of that sort of stuff. So one thing to say on signups is, because in a lot of cases users have accounts, we're actually providing that information and pre-populating the information in that form, and actually then piping right into a CRM through an API. And so once they click submit, we get ghost numbers or unused numbers or pre-used numbers from the retailers, and actually give them a card automatically that's loaded into their wallet, and they get the retailer gets all the information of that customer and can start speaking to them, via email. They can send them a physical card if we give them the address, etc. So there's a lot of benefits outside of, the closed loop transaction piece is awesome, but really the sign up and acquisition is really, really unique too.
All right, Jesse, tell me a little bit about your retail partners, European based. So give us a sense of who you already work with around the world.
Yeah, that's a good question. So we're actually based in 7 countries. Canada's our 7th country. 35 million global users, so quite substantial.
And you said 2.5 million in Canada, right?
Correct.
1.7 million active, if I remember.
Yep, exactly. And from that user base, we've actually got some quite extensive partnerships, in Australia and Italy, and other places as well with IKEA and Decathlon and Woolworths and Carrefour, some of the top retail partners. And one thing to add on that too is they really look at Stocard as kind of an extension of their own program. So they have their own apps and they have their own website, obviously, and their own channels. But they see it as an opportunity, and we have some great case studies that I can share at the show next week. How they actually use the app to actually speak to their shopper in a sense, and using Stocard's user base and those loyalty cards to actually speak to them.
So that their own program can peacefully coexist with your program. It's not an either-or choice, right? So you've got big retailers that you work with in Europe already, so clearly the organization's got track record of dealing with size, scope, and all kinds of different size and formats of retail, right? You Decathlon in sports and all kinds of different formats.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that they do too is they can actually, pass us numbers or pass us loyalty numbers and actually use the loyalty numbers to segment user bases and specifically target those numbers to then glean the insights that we can give them, like I said, from closed loop transactions.
Interesting.
At the bottom of the funnel.
All right, so I'm a retailer. You're going to be on the stage next week. That would be April 18th at the Retail Council of Canada's retail marketing event. So if retailers who are listening to this, they can meet you in person there.
Absolutely.
But if they happen to not be going, for whatever strange reason they wouldn't go to that event, that great event, tell us how, first of all, they can find your app so they can experience it themselves, and then how do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so the app is available on iOS, Google Play, both app stores. Can see us online at stocardapp.com or
and that's STOCARD.
Yep, stocardapp.com, or reach me at Jesse at stocardapp. JESSE, I should say that, at stocardapp.com.
Right on. All right, well, listen, thanks so much for sitting down with us. I think, I love the loyalty space, and, there can't be enough great solutions for it. It's evolving pretty quick, and there's content about that, by the way, next week at the conference as well. There's a whole loyalty panel that'll be chatting about that with retailers from Canadian Tire and from Sobeys. So I think you're in the right place, and look forward to hearing what you have to say next week and touching base then.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks for sitting down. Well, welcome to the Voice of Retail, Kalie.
Thank you very much.
So you're new to the Voice of Retail, but not new to Retail Council of Canada. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you've been here and what you do for Retail Council of Canada.
Definitely. I'm from Uxbridge, Ontario. I have had many years in the retail industry. I've been working for Retail Council for almost 2 years. So I managed member services for independent retailers, non-retailers, and am now supporting the bookseller community.
All right. And that's what we're here to talk about today, the
Yes.
bookseller community. So there's a big day coming up. What is it,
Yes.
April 27th?
April 27th.
Tell us all about it.
Yeah, Canadian Independent Bookstore Day, which was formerly known as Authors for Indies. It's a day to celebrate the amazing bookstores and communities across Canada that develop and maintain a thriving book industry across Canada. It's a day to go out to the community and enjoy the unique variety art, culture, business opportunities that bookstores provide.
Such an important part of Main Street and retail in Canada, right?
Absolutely.
They're not just retailers; they're just really their culture. They're part of the culture, right?
Definitely. Author for Indies, which was formerly known as the event, it was a popular movement in support of independent bookstores. It's a day where authors take the time to give back to bookstores who support authors every day of the year by volunteering as guest booksellers. So they meet and greet customers, recommend books, family and friends come out and just support the local shops. Hundreds of authors across Canada have done this for the past 4 years.
So that's fun. So different independent bookstores would have authors come in and do readings.
Yeah.
Kind of support the people who support them and work together, right?
It's really about what the storefront makes of it. Like they can do events and prizes and lots of games and just have a lot of people come out and support the day. RCC is supporting the event by promoting it through our Retail This Week e-newsletter, our social media, our website, and this podcast, of course. And also with the support of BookNet Canada, CIBD is being promoted through their e-news as well. We have posters, bags, pens with CIBD print, available.
And CIBD is Canadian
Independent Bookstore Day 2019. That's available to our members. So if you want to reach out and put it in order for these items, you can reach out to me. So
it's not too late if you're an independent bookstore hearing our voice to put an order in and still get product.
Yes, absolutely,
right?
For sure. Yep, by end of next week.
And then next week, so that would be April 19th. I mean, because then it's a holiday week.
So preferably before the 19th,
17th, 18th kind of thing.
Yeah, and I'll leave my email at the end of this.
Perfect. Well, what's your email now? Tell us now.
Kalie Belanger, so KBELANGER at retailcouncil.org.
Great. Now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about some of the indies that are participating. So who has jumped up? Because we have an online listing.
Yeah.
Right?
We have an online listing of participating bookstores. It's being updated daily. I definitely encourage bookstores to reach out to me with pictures of their storefronts so we can have the most live material that our viewers can go and see and check out all the stores across Canada that are representing the day. So we've got Monroe Books in Victoria, BC, Blue Heron Books in Uxbridge, Ontario, which is my hometown. So I have been there and yes, definitely brings back some memories. Forester Book Garden in Bolton, Ontario, Lighthouse Books in Brighton, Ontario, Western Sky Books in Port Coquitlam, BC.
Port Coquitlam, yes.
Yes.
From coast
I had to practice
coast.
that before I said it. The Bookkeeper in Sarnia, Ontario. The Novel Spot Bookshop, Etobicoke, Ontario. Another Bookstore in Toronto, Ontario. The Bookstore on Perrin Street, St. Albert, Alberta. Booklore in Orangeville, Ontario. And Bolam Books, Victoria, BC. So this list is growing. It's just a matter of your support and reaching out to me so that I know who's participating. I know there's definitely a lot more out there that are participating. I just would like your name to be recognized on the website and be able to reach out through our social media and get your name recognized and hopefully drive more people into your storefronts.
Well, it's a couple of good things, right? One is for the independent retailer that we're there to support you and we give you a platform and do those things. And then we're all book readers, I think. I mean,
absolutely. In one way or another, I think we are, whether it's a magazine or history or kids' books, which I have a 3-year-old, so we're doing a lot of book, which is exciting. I've already planned to take him out on the 27th and go visit some bookstores.
I was going to say.
In Toronto, it's going to be really exciting.
Excellent. Well, it's a great day for us all to get together and support the indie bookstores from coast to coast, and it's such a vibrant part. Yeah. And it's been a kind of like a renaissance. If I go back even before you started here at RCC, 5 or more years ago, there's a lot of talk about whether it was the big online booksellers, that's a challenge that the indies have faced.
Yeah.
And then it was e-readers, and there's some prognostications that, oh my God, no one's going to read a physical printed book.
Yeah.
I was never a big believer in that. I don't know about you. I like the touch and feel and,
for sure,
and
definitely.
core usability of a book, right?
Definitely.
There's nothing quite like it.
Absolutely.
It's a challenging business to run for sure.
Definitely.
But I think it's again a rewarding. I love reading physical books. There's nothing
Same
to replace
here.
it. Listen, thanks again, and remind us again where, if you're a bookseller or if you're a consumer who loves books, where can they go online to find your listing?
Yeah, absolutely. So we definitely have the Twitter account at RCC Books, which is I'm actively tweeting updates every day, representing booksellers that are contributing. So I recommend you reach out to me with photos or any fun stuff that you guys are up to. I can promote that for you. Also check out retailcouncil.org under CIBD Community Hub. To see participating bookstores and anyone who wants to, support the day, decorate your storefront, offer promotional items, create fun, upbeat atmosphere with games, prizes, balloons, and of course books. It's a chance where everyone can get together and read and learn more about Canadian literature.
Well, fantastic. Yeah. Thanks for telling us all about it. Thanks for being on The Voice of Retail.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to April 27th. So get out there and support your local shops.
Well, all right. Thanks again to Danielle, Jesse, and Kalie for joining me for this episode. Well, let's jump right into the top news of the week, starting with Macy's launch of their version of Store in 36 stores, an area of their store that's going to rotate every 2 months. So this is the long-anticipated or predicted, but really not much of a prediction in as much as what else were they going to do. But when they bought Store from Rachel Sheckman, innovative concept of a retail store that kind of remakes itself like a magazine kind of media and just redesigns and features a theme every couple of months. And that's exactly what Macy's is going to do. So Macy's is launching this in these new spaces. They're going to rotate in new items, very colorful. You can see a picture of this. This is from CNBC, this article. You can see most of these, if not all these stores, taken from the companion piece, so to speak, to The Voice of Retail, which is Retail This Week, which is an Retail Council of Canada e-news product, so to speak. It's an e-newsletter, largest single weekly e-newsletter in the country. You can subscribe for free at retailcouncil.org. I put that together each and every week, 51 weeks of the year. So I'll be referencing some of the articles in this. So anyway, that's the lead article, what Macy's is going to do with the story concept. I saw Rachel Sheckman on the stage at Shop Talk back in Las Vegas. It was good to see her again. She was on the stage here in Toronto at Store 2018, having just been purchased by Macy's. I think she's their Chief Customer Experience Officer. Anyway, that leads off one of the stories. As well, Walmart Canada launches environmental initiatives. So this from Strategy Magazine. They've launched or signed on a Project Gigatron. A project aims to remove the equivalent emissions of 211 million passenger vehicles from the global supply chain. So interesting work from Walmart in the supply chain. Nice pick there of Lee Tappenden and Michael McCain from Maple Leaf Foods. Mac opens up their new flagship store in Toronto's Queen Street West, Mountain Equipment Co-op, Vancouver-based. This from Retail Insider. They had a store on King Street, and they just moved a little bit, and not just a physical move, it's a beautiful store. Great pictures in Retail Insider, so check that out. And of course, if you're in the Toronto area, do stop in. It's got all the great experiences and features, climbing wall, virtual reality technology. So it's a real competitive market for sure, but a nice step forward for MEC. Canada Goose targets world's fashion centers. This from National Post. They're opening up 6 stores, Milan, Italy, Paris, and then a couple of more stores in the U.S. and a couple more in Canada. So Canada Goose continues to expand. Back around the world, we see the DTC razor brand Harry's strikes deal with Boots. So again, you see this cross-pollination. Dollar Shave Club got purchased last year for $1 billion. So that's part of a CPG company now, DTC Razor Harry's, which is a similar competitor now, doing a partnership in bricks and mortar. So that's a continuation of a trend we've talked about many times. The digital first having either stores or physical stores or tying up. You see that with Casper. You see it at Endy. You see this many examples of that. Whole Foods opened up its 500th store in 70,000 square feet, 4-level store. And by the way, you could see Whole Foods founder Walter Robb live on the stage at Store 2019 here in Toronto. So visit retailcouncil.org and get your tickets right away for Store 2020. Your source, we can get those too, but Store 2019 is going to be a blockbuster, fantastic event. Speaking of, just circling back to Walmart, and interestingly, some fun in the news. Jeff Bezos released his letter to shareholders. It's always an interesting thing to read because it's one of the only times you kind of get a real glimpse into Amazon and what they're thinking. Oftentimes, it's rumor, innuendo, and you really don't get great insights. But the letter to shareholders from Bezos is a very interesting document to read for a whole bunch of reasons. It talks about the 3P overtaking first-party sales. Third-party sales in 2018, 58% of all sales. So in other words, sales that are like from their marketplace. But interestingly, as a closing statement, it talks about a lot of interesting things. I'll put a link to Bezos' letter in the show notes. He challenges. I challenge top retail competitors, you know who you are, i.e. Walmart, to match our employee benefits and our $15 minimum wage. Do it. Better yet, go 16 and throw the gauntlet back at us. So, I loved Walmart's response, kind of my reference to the mic drop. Walmart's response was, well, Amazon, how about paying your taxes? Walmart responds, love that. $11 billion of profits, 0 taxes paid by Amazon. So, not lacking for self-promotion from Bezos' perspective, kind of wrapping up that challenge as in do good for the country, but yet forgets that they don't pay any tax. So all those roads that those Amazon orders travel on get beat up and paid by other retailers' tax dollars. So anyway, not to get too far into that, but that I thought was a great response from our friends at Walmart. Other things in the news, a couple of great videos. A video of Eric Nordstrom talking about a 2018 that he would like or is happy to see the end of. I mentioned that actually when I saw Eric in the live. I mentioned it in the Shop Talk episode where I saw him live in Vegas. I thought he was a fantastic presenter. The other video, Toronto cracks down on 28 illegal pot shops. So the crackdown has begun. Another shop, by the way, opened up in Toronto. I guess that makes the 11th in the province. They opened up in Yorkville, which is the Tony area. So lots of Canada tourism going on, I'm sure, in there because lots of tourists visiting that area. So good for them opening up a retail cannabis store in Yorkville. Different, of course, from Yorkdale, which is the shopping center. So that's a good video, though. Now you see the Toronto, and you'll see that in Ontario, they're cracking down on the illegal stores who are not investing and not selling seed-to-sale type products. What else have we got here? So a great, in the entrepreneur section, great feature on Emily DeVoe from Edmonton about her store and the product line that she makes. Great entrepreneur. Hopefully we might actually get her on the show and chat about that. One day in the future, we look at, from Sarnia Record Store, Cheeky Monkey. Great story there on how they're grown with the pickup and vinyl. We've talked about a couple of record stores who benefited from that resurgence. Great to see. And a nice feature article, though it's for subscribers only, from the Globe and Mail. Brant Louie from H.Y. Louie and Company, and they own many things, including the great London Drug out of Vancouver. What else we got? State of book selling in Canada. Some nice articles there. Actually, there's a survey. And of course, as you heard from Kalie, celebrating Canadian Independent Bookstore Day, April 27th. So by all means, stop by our local independent bookstore and just refer back to the episode or the interview with Kalie for all the amazing, wonderful details. Okay, what else we got here? Yeah, we got a lot of, from a news perspective, it wasn't the busiest week in the retail scene, but it's certainly interesting. Topped off by the Amazon note, I guess. Last but not least, great article on retailers turning to electronic shelf labels. So we're starting to see a lot of these. I saw those at NRF's big show in January. And you know what I hadn't thought about is the streamlining, and this from Grocery Business, Winsight Grocery Business. It's a U.S. magazine. But what I had not thought about is using these e-commerce, using these shelf talkers as like a pick-to-light system for e-commerce picking. So more and more in stores, particularly in the U.S., but it's coming here in Canada, you're finding people running around Instacart or whoever doing store pick for grocery. And, it can be an inherently inefficient pick. It's certainly not as efficient as a warehouse because it's laid out, like a retail store. But interesting how different color codes can light up as a pick to light for people picking orders. Hadn't thought about it. I'm really going to put some thought into that and do some more research into that. So very interesting, actually, use of electronic shelf tags. So do check that out. Again, the companion piece from RCC, which is Retail This Week. But in any event, think about that for electronic shelf labels. So there you go. All right, well, that's a wrap on this edition of The Voice of Retail. If you liked this podcast, please review it. You can subscribe to it on iTunes, your favorite podcast platform. Be sure and review it. You can also go ask your favorite home device, Amazon Echo or Google Home. Just say, play the Voice of Retail podcast. And actually, hopefully I just woke up your Echo device. Alexa, play the Voice of Retail podcast. If it's around, maybe it'll just wake up. I'm Michael LeBlanc, founder and president of M.E. LeBlanc Company, and you can learn more about me at meleblanc.co or, of course, on LinkedIn. Join me again next week for a feature interview with Marc Miller, author of A Legacy in the Making, an International Business Awards Book of the Year 2019 finalist, top 10 business book according to Forbes, as well as RCC Quebec President Marc Fortin. And who gives us a retailer's view of top issues in the Quebec market, and let's chit and chatting with Marc. Until then, have a great week.